Hey, welcome to Film Fanatics. My name is Dan.
My name is Justin.
And I'm Joe.
This week, one of the great Pixar side characters is back in Finding Dory. A Big Johnson and a little heart are all it takes to have central intelligence. Jason Bateman tries his hand at directing a second time with The Family Fang, and the second of Adam Sandler's Netflix films has started streaming, so we're going to review that as well. Now, before we get to any of the reviews, some sad news as of late, which is Anton Yelchin, the actor who will be next seen in Star Trek Beyond. I'm not sure if he has anything else in the pipeline. I think maybe an indie or two coming out.
He's got a couple projects.
But tragically, freak accident with his vehicle, and he's now gone from us at age 27. So
far too soon.
Yeah, very sad.
Yeah.
Now, Joe, obviously, Mr. Star Trek over here. A great addition, I think, to the casting.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of people that, even though I did have some issues with the Abrams movies, one of the things I never had a problem with was the casting. I think the
casting's perfect.
They casted so many people greatly to the original characters and even improved upon them in some ways. And I think that with Chekhov, they captured his youth, and I think Yeltsin did an excellent job with that, added a lot of energy and comedy. And just even outside of Trek, I thought he was a good actor, and it seemed like he put a lot of effort into his roles, and definitely gone too soon. I thought it was tragic and very sad. And one thing I did like, though, was that, especially in the Star Trek community, there was just a lot of love kind of sent out to his family, and a lot of the actors, old and new,
Koenig,
even Koenig,
Koenig,
even who hadn't met him before, still even responded. And I saw some good fan art put up there and some good things said. So just the response to the Trek fandom and the community, despite the tragedy, I thought was still very strong, and I did like that at least. Mm-hmm. So that was something positive from it.
And we reviewed several of his films on the show, most recently Green Room,
which was good.
Yeah, the very good movie. I didn't quite buy him as the hardcore punk rocker.
Yeah.
But that was no really detriment to him. It was I thought the writing of the character. But yeah, I mean we've seen him in many movies and many that came out long before the show existed. Charlie Bartlett, Like Crazy. I don't think we've ever talked about on the program, but a very good drama.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, him and Jennifer Lawrence and what's her face from Theory?
Felicity Jones.
Yeah, Felicity Jones.
Yeah, and actually, it's funny. He was, even before he was in Star Trek, long before, he was in like a movie that I loved, Hearts in Atlantis. Stephen King.
I've never seen that.
Adaptation with Anthony Hopkins. Very young. He was like 10 or 11.
I was gonna say,
but
wow.
But even at such a young age, he had talent, and I've always really liked that movie. And he was a great child actor even then. So yeah, he always had talent, and it is a shame, but at least in his brief time, he had some good movies to make.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a few to check out. Justin, any others come to your mind that we haven't mentioned?
Not really. I mean, he was just one of those people who kind of came into the movie and would, even in the slightest way, improve it. Like, for me, Odd Thomas is not a good movie by any stretch of the imagination, but he was a great choice, and he added a lot of character to the role in an otherwise kind of, frankly, mediocre movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that spoke a lot to just who he was as an actor. And I think in a lot of ways what he could have become in due time.
Yeah, definitely very sad. So, like I said, we'll see him in just a couple weeks here in Star Trek Beyond, and maybe one or two things after that.
It's kind of interesting, though. I think you asked Justin, what will this do to the Star Trek films in the future, though, with him dying?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, obviously this film's already written, so it's not like they're going to write his character out of it, or kill him off or anything. So, yeah, we will see. Obviously, it's a very cohesive unit, as we've talked about on our Boldly Going shows, that, Star Trek is a group.
It's a family.
It's a family, not, just Kirk and Spock.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, it will be interesting to see. But, all right, well, let's move into our reviews for the week here. We kick off with a huge movie, and that's Finding Dory, biggest animated opening of all time. I don't think that was really a shock to anyone.
No.
The film takes place 1 year after Finding Nemo, and the sequel finds short-term memory deficient Dory living with Nemo and his father Marlin, and fully acclimated to life with them, when she realizes she must have come from somewhere, and goes on a quest to find her parents, taking, of course, Nemo and Marlin along with her. And they learn that Dory's folks may be at an aquarium, but the group gets split up upon arrival there. I think that this movie is very solid. I think it is certainly not among the best Pixar offerings, But even in the realm of Pixar, there's no, obviously the exception, Cars 2, there's no real bad Pixar.
Not really.
Not particularly, no.
A lesser than Pixar movie is still, a Brave, A-, Good Dinosaur, B+. I mean,
It's still near perfection.
it's still right. It's still so in that regard, I don't really have a lot of bad things to say about this film. But my main gripe, I suppose, is that since it is basically a journey film, it is kind of treading upon ground that we have already seen in the Nemo film.
Or water.
Or water, you're right. Sometimes on the ground, though.
I like that.
Indeed.
Sometimes with that. That was new. I think some of the new characters are fun. You have a lot of great voice talents. A couple of Modern Family people. Ed O'Neill and Ty Burrell have roles. Caitlin Olsen from Always Sunny is here. Your typical Pixar stuff. Heartstrings are tugged. Tears are shed, laughs are had. The animation here is decent. I think in trying to be faithful to the original film, they wanted to make it look like the original film. Obviously, computer graphics have enhanced greatly in 13 years. I think they could have made it look better than it did, and I think they chose not to keep it in line.
Consistency.
Yeah, which I appreciated, actually.
Yeah.
I think Ellen DeGeneres, obviously returning here as Dory, is fantastic. I mean, she really has championed this on her show for years to even exist, and I think she's the reason it does. And she does a great job here as well. Albert Brooks as Marlin, also very good. I mean, a slightly lesser Pixar film, but still not really a lot bad to say about it.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I guess it's definitely not among the best Pixar movies, but I definitely thought it was very good. Actually, really, other than that one, I guess, minor complaint of it sort of doing the same thing as the previous film, it doesn't really. It still tries new things.
It pulls The Force Awakens.
It does, the same thing, but you're right, kind of changed the trappings a little bit. I think the thing that really elevated it for me, though, is I think the Dory character is a very interesting one, and her plight was very good. And I thought tackling her sense of difficulty overcoming her strife and kind of mimicking maybe somebody living with a disability of various kinds, I thought was very poignant, as Pixar often is. And, I liked a lot of the side characters a lot. And I do have to add, though, I think that the cuteness factor in this movie might be over 9,000 because
of Baby Dory.
Baby Dory was like this was almost sickeningly cute, and which I liked.
True.
Which I liked her cuteness. I was like, damn, she's just so cute. But also, in second place though for cuteness, kind of one of the saviors of the movie, this little hermit crab that just speaks like briefly is like so adorable, and I'm like, why are you so cute?
Yeah, the hermit crab's good.
So there was a lot of cuteness in the movie, but which was fine. But yeah, like I said, I really don't have any problems with the movie, which might imply what my grade's going to be.
I mean, I thought they were maybe trying a little too hard with the Baby Dory.
But she's so cute.
She is cute.
I'm inclined to agree.
Wow.
Oh, well,
here's the cute hater over here.
Well,
so
look, I don't
obviously,
really.
but
Cuteness doesn't usually work for me, but if it's that cute that it does affect me, I mean, I can't see that as a negative. If it's cute and it works, it's cute, then it's done well cute.
True. I guess I sort of feel like Ellen is already cute. She's an adult cute.
Yes.
And
well, then imagine if
Dory is already a cute character.
But if it's a Baby Dory, then it's going to be infinitely cuter. It's
cute.
logical. It's logical.
It is only logical, sir.
She's 90% eyes, Justin.
She is, which I thought was really, really strange.
But hey, that's cool. But no, I, for the most part, liked it. I didn't really have any problems with it.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Justin did though. Because he's going.
I'm going to preface this by saying I did enjoy this movie. So.
Oh no!
Pixar needs to hang it up, you guys.
Oh no! They are not new Sony, Dan. Stop it! But no.
That was a Tarantino bit, but
still.
Yeah.
Go on.
I know you've said it about so many things; it's hard to tell where I was going with it. But.
Okay, I guess I had that coming. But anyways,
go ahead.
Well, you would think after 13 years, there would be enough writing and rewriting to warrant a sequel that A, justifies its existence, and B, is worthy to the original. They accomplished B. A, I'm not so sure. Really, the whole thing just begs the question of, why is this here? Like, it's nice that we're back, but I really don't see any point. Dory's a fun character, a lot of development towards her, but there was nothing here that really there was really no gripping question that I desperately needed answered. Like Finding Nemo comes full circle. It pretty much resolves everything that I was curious about. And really, Pixar's only major answer to why is this even remotely necessary is, hey kids, fan service. We get callbacks, we get new characters, we get return to said callbacks. And they're adorable, and they're going to be instantly quotable for another 8 years. Another issue I have with the original, the cult following is obnoxious beyond belief, but...
Jonathan Frakes, good show.
I don't know that one, but...
Fox
like,
quit cancel,
off and on
like
for
always.
5 years, yeah, it was good. I liked it.
Oh, my word. But what really worries me about this is I think Pixar is just trying way too hard to go rapid fire, and I think because of that, story quality is going dramatically down, and it kind of bothers me.
You mean dramatically down, kind of like in a Good Dinosaur way?
In a Good Dinosaur way. Like, this isn't...
I have a question, but I'm going to let him go.
Well, he liked Good Dinosaur the least of all of us.
I know.
Yeah.
I know, but I want him to continue.
Like, this isn't necessarily on par with Good Dinosaur, but it's... We have the glory days, and we have Finding Dory.
Well, I do kind of agree with what you're saying. I admit this might not be like the most mind-blowing story ever, but simple isn't necessarily bad, which I didn't mind with Good Dinosaur.
It's not even the fact that it's simple. It's the fact that it's basically Pixar's answer to fan service. Like, okay, there's a huge Finding Nemo fan base. We obviously have to continue the franchise in some way. But they don't really give us anything that's like, ooh, this was a great reason to be back.
Justin,
I don't agree.
Wait. Let me bounce back, though. Like, I think they've kind of done that with a lot of their previous films. And, I mean, that makes sense. That's what everybody does now. I mean, if everyone's going to do a sequel and make a franchise out of something...
I'm sorry. If there's an Ice Age 5, we can get a Dory 2.
You know, and...
A Nemo 2.
In honesty...
I'm sorry, but, you know...
even a better example...
I didn't say it was a cash grab like Ice Age, but...
Even a better example, though, Justin. I do agree that Finding Nemo is a very solid movie that's full circle in and of itself. We didn't really need the Dory movie, but I think they explored enough with Dory's character to justify it. I mean, you could make the same argument with Toy Story. Toy Story didn't need a sequel, but, you know, there are interesting ideas you can explore to make more movies.
Here's another way to think about it. Okay. To bring up Cars 2 again.
Oh, no.
What they did in Cars 2 that went so horrible was the entire focus of the movie was on the comic relief character, Mater.
Yep.
Who's terrible.
Yes.
This is a movie about the side character
Pretty
that
much
works.
The most popular character. Really.
Yeah.
Yes,
I mean, this is a movie about the comic relief character where we're exploring her background. To say that, you know, it's unnecessary and that Nemo didn't leave any questions, okay, maybe it didn't, but I think it's cool to explore where the most popular character from the film came from.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm not saying it's completely pointless. It's just wholly unnecessary by my beliefs.
The same could be said for so many movies. I mean, Back to the Future didn't need a 2 and a 3.
It's true.
It just didn't.
Well,
one wraps up perfectly fine.
Okay.
I agree.
You know, I mean...
I was thinking about the to be continued, but I know that was a later insert.
Yeah, that didn't exist in the beginning. Very good. I think most movies don't necessarily... If they're done well the first time, unless they're like based on a book series or something, you know, I...
Don't demand a sequel.
I mean...
Not necessarily,
you know,
but...
Pitch Perfect 2. I mean, like, you know, we don't need most of the sequels we get.
Godfather didn't need a sequel,
think
really.
This one is certainly more enjoyable than most that we get.
I mean, I'm not denying that it was a good movie. I'm just saying...
Not up to your standards, basically.
Not up to standards, and really, I just don't see any point to it. It's sort of like if we got a Ratatouille 2. Would I watch it? Sure. Do I have absolutely any interest in believing that it had to exist? No.
All right, well, then, in keeping in line with your initial statement of, I do actually like this movie, let's hear something positive about it.
Yeah, let's hear
because I haven't heard one yet.
Gotta do it, man.
Okay, well, the first major thing I think is really cool about this is a lot of the new side characters are a lot of fun. I think I think the Destiny character is hilarious. If they made a spinoff about her, I'd watch it in a heartbeat. The Sigourney Weaver bit is...
Yes, Sigourney Weaver cameo was
funny.
great.
That was good.
For the most part, the story I thought flowed really well until we get to about the last 20 minutes where we get to this really completely nuts conclusion and then it just sort of stops.
I agree. The ending was my least favorite part.
Yeah.
It really goes a little bit crazy. Even for an animated movie about talking fish.
Yeah.
All right.
Like, it's fun, but the more you think about it, the more frustrated you get. But, like, some of the things that it was going for I thought were nice. The sort of, like, flashbacks that are like, triggers, I thought was a really cool motif. And surprisingly complements the 3D rather well.
I thought the 3D was useless, to be honest. I
it works.
honestly didn't notice anything that was really in 3D.
The 2D was wonderful.
I'm sure it was. I think I saw it in 2D. I just wore glasses, I guess.
You may have, yeah.
Be an idiot.
I mean...
Octopus? Do we like the octopus?
I love the octopus.
I kind of went back and forth on the octopus.
I thought he was a villain for a while.
I did too, and I think that's what they wanted you to think, and that was good that they sort of turned it on its ear, yeah.
It's kind of a little more complicated, as Pixar usually is.
And Dory changes him, as she does.
Most people.
As per usual.
You know?
Yeah.
So, alright, well, I enjoyed it. Like I said, it's a little bit on the lesser tier. I think Disney hit their animated stride already with Zootopia this year. I leave it with an A-.
I live with a B.
A-.
Alright, very good. Well, Joe, let's stay with you and talk about Central Intelligence.
Central. Well, this one was actually like an honorable mention for me for my most anticipated, so we'll see if this one made me happy.
Yeah.
It's been very...
Better or worse than Hail Caesar, let's say.
You like to keep bringing that up. Like
because it was the worst pick.
I was going to say, it's probably the lowest of the low.
I think it's the lowest pick any of us had on any of these years.
If I'm rolling the dice
Free
with
State's coming,
the Coen brothers, I thought there's a good... Anyway... Central Intelligence is an action comedy. It stars Dwayne, formerly The Rock Johnson. Or is he always The Rock?
I still call him The Rock.
He's
I
The
mean,
Rock.
that's fine.
That's what I think of him. And Kevin Hart as two old high school buddies who team up to save the world. Now, Johnson was once a ridiculed, overweight kid in school. Did you like that, Dan? Not the part that he was bullied, but the fact that he was overweight.
I did enjoy that part.
Well, Hart was basically the most popular kid. Now, after an act of kindness, Johnson considers Hart to be his best friend, and years later, he's the only one that can trust to help him in this CIA ridiculous plot. Now, the story is pretty basic for a buddy comedy cop spoof, and the plot is rather thin, with some minor issues that you expect as you're watching it. But you won't really notice because it's so elevated by the great chemistry between these two actors. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're
Fantastic.
Just so funny. I think Johnson, in particular, I just loved everything. Just so much energy, as he always puts in. But this time he shows he's willing to do a lot of things for comedy. And Hart plays off him well. And actually, for what it is, I think it pulls around a pretty decent story with a good moral tale. Which I thought was, no pun intended, there is some heart there, for sure. Mm. So, I mean, it's one of those things where it could have been a much lesser movie. But these two guys made it so watchable and entertaining for me. I was a pretty good time.
Okay. Well, I'm pretty much with you on that. Should we talk to Justin about the Kevin Hart movie?
Well, we have there's a bit of history, as you guys know, with Justin and Kevin Hart. So I don't know. Like,
I was going to say, which one are we talking about here? But
the Kevin Hart, like pretty much all Kevin Hart movies, Justin feels a certain.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard too many positives about any of his.
But
movies.
this isn't written by
last night, but.
He was the side character. You know what I mean, Justin.
I know
it's
full well what
not
you mean.
written.
Okay.
It's not written by his typical writer, though. So,
that I don't know.
Yeah,
but
the guy that writes all this
Tim
stuff.
Story.
Yeah, he's not written by Tim Story.
That's Justin's real hate.
You really don't like Tim Story, to be fair. I know you don't seem to like his. You don't like his writing. You don't like.
I'm okay with 2005 Fantastic Four. The sequel, different story, but
well, it's not a Kevin Hart movie remotely.
Not even
but
close.
Anyway,
no, but still Tim Story.
Well, Justin, we'll wait. I want to wait. Dan, what do you like?
I mean, I'm pretty much with you. I think that there's lots of funny jokes.
Okay.
I think Johnson, and I like Kevin Hart. I do.
Steals the show.
I think he outshines Kevin Hart in every scene of this
I
film.
agree.
And in fact,
absolutely.
I don't think until he shows up as the adult The Rock that I think there's not a whole lot of laughs at all until we get to that part. Now, there's obviously some character build-up.
Yeah.
There's some interesting elements to the story, but there's no real laughs until
crew
adult Bob shows up.
Yeah.
Bob Stone.
Bob Stone. I think the guys have great chemistry. You're right. I think it could have been a much more generic buddy comedy. And I'm sorry, I've always maintained that Dwayne Johnson is one of the most charismatic people on screen today.
Well, he's so likable.
He's so likable. Yeah. And I was thinking, everybody's saying, it's interesting he's, tackling comedy here. He usually does action or other things.
He's done a lot of comedy.
But he's done a lot of comedy. I mean, aside from the many times he's hosted Saturday Night Live, have been hilarious. If you've never seen The Rock Obama, you have to check out those sketches. But Get Smart, he was funny in.
Yeah.
But I thought, there were some funny situations. The mystery element was good.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
A little bit
on the nose,
confusing, and
a
little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if, speaking of sequelitis here with the studios, I'm not necessarily sure if we need a central intelligence too.
Yeah.
But I would like to see these guys team up in something.
That's kind of how I felt about it. I will admit, and this is kind of, I put an asterisk next to my grade when I finally give it.
Mm-hmm.
I did really enjoy it, but I'm not sure how funny it would be on a rewatch necessarily, and I don't know if it would demand a sequel. But if they did team up in another capacity,
I would be fine with that.
That would be if they became like the new buddy cop. That would
I
be.
agree.
They were a great duo, like one of the best.
Yeah,
they were great.
I agree. All right, so Justin, what did you think?
So I thought I'd kick off my thoughts with my perceived scenario of, for anyone wondering how I viewed this movie. Imagine a 5'4" man running around like a lunatic, banging a steel bucket for 2 hours while trying to tell quasi-funny jokes. Are you frustrated? Welcome to my experience watching Central Intelligence.
Oh no.
Now,
that's the bit, though. I mean, I thought he was much less Kevin Hardy in this than he was in, say, Get Hard.
He kind of had to be.
Well, here's the thing. I was expecting another heart disaster. But this time, I don't think I can honestly blame him. I blame the fact that the script is a complete mess. It doesn't seem to have any idea if it wants to be a buddy cop movie or a story about acceptance or some other weird conspiracy thriller that's completely convoluted and impossible to follow.
Well, that's just to kind of keep the plot moving, though. That's not really important.
It is, but then they make it the driving focal point. And I think the biggest issue is, and I really wish Hollywood would accept this, Kevin Hart is not Eddie Murphy. He never was. He never will be.
Chris Tucker might be a more fair comparison.
But Chris Tucker's career was over in 2003, so...
He had a good run, though. I mean, I agree.
Eddie Murphy's was over in 1991, depending on who you ask.
But no...
Touche.
But yeah, in all fairness, I don't know if he's Eddie Murphy, but, I mean, he's...
But Hollywood's treating him like he's the next Eddie Murphy, and I'm sorry, he's not.
Regardless of how you feel about him, a lot of people do like his style of comedy. That's why they're using him. It's just logical.
They are, but I'm sorry, he doesn't have the timing, he doesn't have the same ability to adapt.
In your humble opinion.
Okay, but here's the other thing you have to consider. I mean, Justin, you really hated the stand-up movie he did too.
I mean, I gave it a D+. I wouldn't say
that's not a good. I gave it a B. So I mean, that's not a D+ is not a strong grade, is what I'm saying.
Not particularly.
Okay.
I don't think you like his humor,
which is fine,
and that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of him, but I mean, I think he's pretty funny.
They tried to get Kevin Hart to be the straight man, and Kevin Hart really only has one mode, which is completely and utterly manic. So trying to get him to dial it back is just...
I really thought he was much more dialed back than... I already said Get Hard, Wedding Ringer as well.
It's Quiet Heart.
He is, but then they're trying to find ways to interject Hart's shtick into being the straight man, which he is by no means prepared to do yet. I mean, the two play off each other well, but Dwayne Johnson could be straight man, funny man either way, but Hart just isn't ready to be the straight point of that.
I mean, I think it's, another recent buddy cop movie that Joe and I enjoyed was The Heat.
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot like that where, you have sort of the one outrageous character, and then you have the other character who is a little more dialed in, but is still kind of crazy, still kind of funny, not really knowing what's going on, kind of thing, the confused cop. I thought Bullock and McCarthy sort of had similar...
chemistry?
Well, I was going to say,
Timing?
generic roles, that Hart and Johnson have.
Yeah.
Yes, I do think they both had chemistry as well.
Interesting that you bring that up, given the fact that I had the reverse problem, but...
That you didn't like them, but you liked the...
No. Funny person is missing the mark, straight person's getting all the laughs. Which...
But again, you're not a huge Melissa McCarthy improv-type fan, as we've seen in a lot of her movies, too.
And they have similar comedic styles, too, so that might make sense.
Yeah. All right, well, no real surprise there. I figured this would be a sticking point. I really enjoyed this movie. It's a B+ for me.
C-.
I'm with Dan on this one. It's B+.
All right. Justin, Family Fang is up next.
All right.
Which I was disappointed was not exactly a vampire movie, Justin.
No.
You kind of fooled me, man.
Throughout their youth, Annie and Baxter Fang, played by Nicole Kidman and Jason Bateman, were forced to partake in their parents, played by Christopher Walken and Marianne Plunkett, with their artistic antics, but now find themselves trying to desperately distance themselves from them as much as they can, in both writing and acting. However, when their parents mysteriously disappear and are presumed dead, Annie and Baxter take it upon themselves to search through the family home movies for clues to their whereabouts. Much like one particular plot point in this movie, a sophomoric novel can be polarizing, and Family Fang will likely end up in that same department on the filmic front. Now, the good thing about this is the cast I thought was surprisingly game, though I feel like Nicole Kidman borders on trying a little too hard at times, but her character's a little bit off by nature, so it can be at least quasi-justified. But where it falters dramatically for me, keeping it from greatness, is in the delivery of the storyline. It relies very heavily on flashbacks and these intercuts that just make it really, really difficult to figure out where and why we're seeing the things we are.
And that narration.
And then eventually narration, which is a whole different aspect. The mystery itself is actually fairly interesting. It's just, it takes a little bit to get going, and there's a bunch of plot twists, and then we get a twist that kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth the more you think about it. But where do you guys stand on this one? I'm curious.
Well, I really like the concept of it. I mean, I thought it was certainly something new, something original.
Absolutely.
But I think the movie ends too abruptly. I think that it's probably a good length, but maybe dial some of the flashbacks back a little bit.
Less is more.
I agree on the directing front, and I think I liked Bad Words, more than you guys, but I don't think Bateman's directing is quite as sharp here as it is in that film, but it's also a much more involved story to tell.
Agreed.
And he does get pretty good performances from his actors in this, so it's sort of a wash on that front, but I do think he's definitely still in the learning phase.
Well, he's trying to do a lot of different
his
things
career.
in this one. I'm sorry.
He is. Yeah, he is. But I mean, even like the kid actors he gets good performances from that play the young Bateman and Kidman. I think they're believable as brother and sister. Not the hugest Kidman fan. This wasn't my favorite of her performances, but I thought she did fine.
It works for what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think she's terrible. She's not one of my favorites.
No.
And sometimes I question her projects.
Should watch The Invasion sometime.
Never seen The Invasion.
I honestly thought it would be worse.
The Others I liked. That was
The Others is good. Rabbit
sort
Hole.
of sci-fi. Well, I was sort of going on the sci-fi tip, but yes, I enjoy Rabbit Hole and Paddington and many other things.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What do you think of Family Fang, Joe?
I think that it definitely had a lot of potential layers and ambition. I think the word is ambitious. But ambition in terms of goal, not necessarily in execution.
Okay.
I think you're right. It is a little choppy in terms of some of the editing and how the story is presented. Tonally, it's a little weird. It's a very odd movie. Like, you think certain scenes are supposed to be comedic or darkly comedic, but it's just kind of dramatic, and you're not sure how to feel.
I was going to say, there are times where you're wondering quite a bit in this movie, should I be laughing at this, or
exactly.
is it just cringe-inducing?
But a lot of it's just like, I don't feel comfortable laughing at this. Like, I don't
Yeah.
the emotions it's inducing are...
Yeah, I didn't really get a lot of laughs from it.
Yeah, so... But I thought the characters were interesting. I really found the parents and the dynamic of the family interesting, because it is very unique. And they seemed like very odd people, but very believable. Mm-hmm. And the whole idea of art by improv and in the YouTube generation and how that interplays was cool. And I thought Walken, as usual, gives a great performance.
Yeah, this is one of the better ones I've seen in a while.
He was really good
him.
in it. I thought Bateman was fine. Kidman, I think this is not her best. I really didn't like her that much in this. I thought she was okay, but the other lady that played opposite to Walken was pretty good, though. So yeah, for the most part, as a family, they were believable, and I think there were some interesting ideas, but it takes a while to get going, and it was kind of mixed bag for me.
Yeah, I feel the same. I don't know that we needed all of the flashbacks and the lead up. I mean, it was interesting, I guess, to see, okay, well, here's a thing they pulled when they were kids, and here's another one, and let's talk to them. And
debate of art versus prank.
Yeah, and I always like to see Catherine Hahn, but yeah, I don't know that all of that was necessary.
I think the ones that are justified later on in a particular plot point definitely have their place. But some of the like minor anecdotes and just stuff that you could already infer from various events that happen throughout the movie, kind of unnecessary.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
How'd you guys feel about the ultimate twist with the how the mystery sort of resolves?
I actually thought it was pretty cool. I didn't really see it coming. I think it makes more sense than certain other twists that we've dealt with in the last 6 months or so.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting twist. I thought it was appropriate, but I kind of wish there was a little more expanded upon leading up to that point.
I really just think it's sort of just twist and that's it. I wish there was more to the last 20 minutes of the movie.
I agree.
Yeah, I feel like there could have been more, but at the same time, in the nature of the characters that are involved, that's about all I can say without ruining anything. It's quasi-justified. It's just left me with very, very divisive feelings about that initial takeaway. The resolution from there I thought was okay, but the ultimate conclusion of the mystery was...
satisfying?
I'm going to say bittersweet.
Kind of like the whole movie.
Yeah, true.
In so many words.
Yeah. Really just the one word, but... alright, well, I leave it with a B. I thought it was alright.
And I'm right with you, B.
B-.
Okay. Well, finally we have The Do-Over. And this is Sandler and David Spade playing Charlie and Max, high school buddies, who meet up at a reunion and realize that their lives are boring and horrible, so they fake their deaths, go to Puerto Rico, and start over. And there, things go very bad when they find out that the dead men whose lives they've usurped were very wanted criminals when they were alive. Now, this movie is not as aggressively bad as The Ridiculous Six, but it's just as awful in other ways. First of all, it's another example of a Sandler movie having very little in the way of script, plot, or humor. It's another excuse for Sandler to get a nice vacation with his buddies.
Yet again.
And make out with beautiful women. And the film is obviously complete with the trademark unfunny, gross-out jokes. The story goes very off the rails in fairly short order as it becomes like this mystery thriller, and I really don't even think Sandler purists will even be on board because it's too convoluted for them, I feel like. I mean, in terms of recent bad Sandler movies, I think his devotees will far enjoy Ridiculous Six more than this.
I don't know, you're talking about the people who would willingly come out for Jack and Jill, so...
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. This is the terrible movie I'm talking about, Justin. Ridiculous Six and Jack and Jill have a lot more in common than The Do-Over and Jack and Jill. This movie tries to go down all these different weird paths. I don't think the Sandler devotees want to see that. I don't think they're into it. They want to see grown-ups. They want to see Jack and Jill. They want to see the Zohan. I mean, these are the movies that the fans like. Whether or not I like them is irrelevant. This movie isn't necessarily for the Sandler purists. It's partially for the people who like his more dramatic stuff, but he's terrible in the dramatic parts in this movie. So, I think he wanted to do something a little bit different from the path. I think The Cobbler is more of the, okay, let's do something different from the Sandler path, but still have it be stupid and Sandler-y.
Like, why?
But that was pretty bad, too, to be honest.
Yeah, but
at least
better than all of the ones that we've mentioned. I mean, I think I gave The Cobbler a C-, which is far more than I can say for any of the other
smarter
ones.
movie than any of those.
I can't speak for Zohan, but...
Zohan, I failed.
Zohan's horrible.
Zohan is terrible.
It's such a bad movie.
Paula Patton shows up, and she's terrible in this, like she usually is. The classic Sandler attempt to warm the heart is here, and is more forced and pathetic than the usual. This is a bad movie. It makes me want to stand by my original D for Ridiculous Six, which I ended up failing about 5 minutes later once we were conversing more. But I think even the Sandler devotees would appreciate that more than this is just a mess in so many ways.
Well,
I'll let you lead the charge on this one.
I mean, like, I can't really argue with that. I mean, I guess it's a good thing that he was trying to attempt to make a film that's attempting to do something different than the absolute basic lowest common denominator thing. But then again, those movies, for as bad as they are, at least they're focused and they're more sure of their identity.
Yes.
Which is a plus, I guess. So, I mean, kind of torn there.
I'm not so sure about that, but I'll let you speak.
I mean, you know, it's a bit rough. I kind of liked the initial introduction of the two characters, at least. I thought that was semi.
Yeah, I thought their opening scenes were fine. I did get a couple of laughs out of it.
I liked Spade. You know, I mean, I thought he was, you know, okay for his characterization. But, you know, it does lose its way rather quickly. And, you know, I thought, like, for what it was trying to be in the beginning, it would have been okay, maybe. But it doesn't know what it wants to be. And it's really bad. But, you know, there isn't too much to save there. But I did kind of like the dynamic between the two characters, at least. I thought that was okay.
Yeah.
You know, that's the best thing I could say about the movie.
Well, he always has chemistry with his buddies. I mean
that's
we can't deny that.
That's not a
To
bad
varying
thing.
degrees, but yes.
You know.
In the long line of Sandler trash, that's my boy. Ridiculous Six, The Cobbler. This one is definitely bad, but it could have been so much worse. Now, I'll admit I'm getting really, really, really tired of Sandler goes to blank location shtick.
That's really obnoxious.
It's every movie.
It's like, why should people be funding this guy? He's literally just getting paid to go on vacation.
That is his career now.
It's been his career for almost a decade. It's time to stop him. But the madness has to end.
I don't know.
I gotta say, the two, to varying degrees, had chemistry. I laughed considerably more in this than I even remotely did watching The Ridiculous Six, which just made me want to punch my laptop. And even though the story is completely convoluted, I at least thought it was more together than just a bunch of various comedic vignettes masquerading as a story. Cough off of The Ridiculous Six.
And that's why this one isn't as aggressively bad as The Ridiculous Six.
It's true.
I mean, I'll admit it's messy and irritating, but I at least figured it was going somewhere. And I thought the twist, even though it's basically random and weird, I was like, okay, that's moderately clever in a weird, thrillery kind of way that's out of place. But I thought as a like bare bones lowbrow bromance, I could see people getting behind it. Is it as in your face as Sandler purists might have come to expect? Possibly, but I could still see them accepting it as a worthy entry into his repertoire.
I mean, it has enough gross humor, I guess, that, you know, I just don't think that they're coming along for the ride of like weird murder mystery, you know, gunfire. Like, it was sort of like I don't know, like a We're the Millers sort of thing. You know, with all the gunplay and the let's, you know, take these other people's lives and, oh, they're killers, you know. But that was obviously such a better film.
But, I mean, with the exception of one ridiculously bloated action sequence, I think for the most part it keeps away from that.
All right. Well, I give it a D. I think it's right down there with some of the worst of the Sandler movies.
C-.
How about that? It's D+ for me.
Oh, right in the middle. All right, well, that does it for the show this week. Some interesting films, I think.
Yeah, definitely interesting.
Considerably.
To say the least.
Yeah.
Joe, anything new for the summer on your channel?
Well, there's always, of course, a couple big movies coming up. I mean, we've got Independence Day 2. Got to talk about that.
Naturally.
New Star Trek movie around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've got some interesting
Ghostbusters.
ones. Oh, God.
You got to do it. You know you do.
I know we're
G-Busters.
gonna do Ghostbusters.
Mm-hmm.
Got a Suicide Squad coming up eventually.
Oh, yeah, true.
August.
Other stuff, I'm going through the Tarantino movies.
Oh, nice.
I mean, I've got
Good
some
choice.
other patrons.
Chronologically, I assume?
Yeah, that's the easiest way. So I'm going to be doing Death Proof this month.
Oh, nice.
Not bad.
Yeah, so we're doing that, and you know, just trying to catch up with old anime, and you know, That's about it.
All right, very
Not bad
good.
at all.
And speaking of Ghostbusters, our old classic theme for July is 80s comedies. So for listener's choice, let us know what you would like us to review for the 80s comedy listener's choice slot. And you can always check in on the Facebook group, Film Fanatics with an exclamation point, or the Twitter feed at Film Fanatics Pod. And of course, you can subscribe to our channel here as well. So thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you back here next time.